Welcome back to the Heart of Health. I'm Tim Coaches. We were answering questions from Benjamin in reference to Plavix, aspirin, and stents. Dr. Marcum?
Those are very good questions. And first I want to emphasize that, modern medicine has its place. And when you're having a heart attack, a symptom that will not go away, it might be crushing chest pain, it might extreme shortness of breath. The first things, you have to do is get evaluated. You can't get help if you're staying at home. And remember, we talked about the mortality rate for not getting treated. 1/3 of people die from heart attacks without treatment.
Now, is that ratio different from men to women?
No, they both have the same rate of dying, so they have to get help right away. You go to the emergency room, the EKG, the symptoms show that you're having a heart attack. Well, what we need to do is restore the blood to the heart. One of the ways we do this is with the stent. So Benjamin was having a heart attack a month ago. He had a drug or bare metal stent placed in his heart. What a stent is stainless steel that holds the artery open. What we do is we run a catheter up to the heart, take pictures of the arteries. We see a blockage, the artery's completely blocked. Then we put a wire through the artery, through the blockage, and we put it south of that blockage. The next thing is on that wire. Now we can see it with our television cameras and our pictures. So we have cameras just like this where we can see what's going on inside the heart. We see that wire go south of the blockage. The next thing that happens is very, very interesting. We see where the blockage is and we blow up a balloon. When we blow up the balloon, all of a sudden we see blood passing through the artery. So the heart is now happy again. Heart attack is being aborted. It's very rewarding. The next thing is there's usually a stent we have on that actually tacks that artery up, helps keep the blood flow, helps keep things open. Now, our body was not made to have a stainless steel stent in it. So after the heart attack, and his heart attack was about a month ago, this stent, the blood sees this stainless steel, and guess what it wants to do? It's a foreign object. It wants to attack and clot.
Clot it.
The way we keep that happening is with the combination of Plavix and aspirin. Plavix and aspirin both help keep the clotting mechanism from occurring. Now, there's two types of stents. One type of stent is called a bare metal stent. Nothing special to it, just stainless steel.
Looks like a screen.
And this type of stent keeps the arteries open, but the nice thing about this type of stent is you only have to keep Plavix going for about 1 month. So this type of stent has its advantages if we're going to need to do another procedure, because we don't want to take a person that might need a gallbladder or brain surgery or whatever off this. So we might put a drug-eluting stent, and then in 1 month they can come off Plavix. A more specialized stent that might have more benefits long-term is called a drug-eluting stent. This stent actually releases a substance that helps prevent rejection from the body, which is also called restenosis. This one would take Plavix for a year. Now, what happens over that year is once the stent in, the body actually grows a lining of tissue around the stent, so all of a sudden the body...
It's accepting it.
Exactly. And it does not see that metal anymore, so the chance of clotting goes down quite a bit. So after a year, usually we can stop the Plavix and just go with the aspirin alone. So he's taking aspirin. It isn't enough for those reasons. And what you don't want to have happen is, let's say we put a stent in, a drug-eluting stent, and a person goes home and he thinks, oh, everything's fine, my stent's in. But guess what? The body is, he thinks he knows everything that's going on. The body sees that metal, it clots, and guess what? You have another heart attack, the same symptoms come, and it's a disaster. Now, this time, the heart attack mechanism is not necessarily from all the stress, but this time it's because the body's forming clots due to the stent.
Interesting. So the body can accept it or can reject it, but the Plavix actually helps.
Well, the Plavix helps the body and the little platelets to not want to stick to that stent until it endothelializes. Once it gets that covering over that, the chance of that happening becomes much less. And it usually takes 6 months to a year to have that process occur.
Okay. Well, we have a couple other questions. We have one from Ruby from Arizona who writes, my New Year's resolution this year was to lose a significant amount of weight. In anticipation of this, for the past several weeks, she has gone to the library and researched diets. Now, we know there's a lot of different diets on the shelf. They're advertised. They're everywhere. There are so many out there. She wants to know what's guaranteeing weight loss today.
Ruby, this is an excellent question in this well-marketed world. It's hard to know who or even what to believe. And, there's even commercials out there about this guy from the Holiday Inn Express that's giving everyone medical advice. There's lots of diet plans out there, and you think about them, the Mediterranean diet, low fat, high fat, all sorts of diet, low protein, high protein, but the bottom line is this, none of the diet plans necessarily work long term. Well, what do? We know that all this extra weight is killing us. They call this system, this extra weight, the endocannabinoid system.
Big word.
Doesn't it sound scary?
It does.
It scares me too. But this endocannabinoid system has sort of like a will and life of its own. It makes chemicals that make you more hungry. It makes chemicals that raise your blood pressure. It makes chemicals that cause you to store cholesterol. It makes chemicals that make you more likely to have diabetes. All of this puts stress on the system. More stress on the system, more likely to have a malfunction, more likely to have a heart attack. So losing weight is very important in cardiovascular health. So Ruby has a great concern. Now, where can we go for help? And that's what I like to point people. That's why we go back to the source of truth. In this well-marketed world, we can depend on the Bible as the source of truth. Well, what's the Bible teach us about weight loss? Well, remember, in the Garden of Eden,
go to the original diet.
Right. They had fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. Adam and Eve were taking care of the animals. They were moving around all day. Unfortunately, we don't do that.
Our society is stuck behind a computer at a desk.
Right. Or watching a television.
Or couch potatoes started back in the 80s.
Or you're seeing people texting all the time.
Oh, yes.
It's a major problem. So what I would advise Ruby is let's try to get some principles that get back to the owner's manual. And remember, no matter what we do in a weight loss plan, God still loves Ruby. God wants to heal her. He wants to save her. So that's one very important concept. Remember, God still loves you and is going to take care of you. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. So one of the things we want Ruby to have is have some love in her life. So find something that loves. And it might be a relationship with God who can give you the power. It might be a friend that can help you through this journey. Also, try to be happy and upbeat, because happiness, we have a verse in the Proverbs, a merry heart does good like the medicine. Even though we're fighting against health problems, we want to be happy and have love in our lives, because this changes our chemistry too.
And we need to be positive.
That's exactly right, Tim. And just little steps at a time. And the first place I would start with Ruby is try not to eat the big meal at night, like we've talked about earlier. Fill up during the day with fruits, vegetables, nuts, and grains. Drink a lot of water and start doing a walking program. And it might just be 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, go around the block. Anything to get moving.
And gradually build this up. And then at the end of 1 month, with this happiness and love and empowered, and don't get down if you have one bad day. Remember, you know, everyone's going to have a bad day. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get yourself discouraged and quit. But be positive. Say, listen, I've had one bad day. I'm not going to have 2 in a row. And as she makes these little changes, she's going to note that her chemistry improves. Because why? She's getting about the way that God designed her. She's coming back around to the way, the original chemistry. You know, we don't, not designed to carry. So guess what she's done to her risk of heart attack?
She lowered it.
She's lowered her risk dramatically. She's become happier. She's going to feel better. And then the next time, after she's made these changes and stick with it, we're able to add another. These type of plans that are lifestyle based on love and happiness and based on biblical approach with God at the center has the greatest chance of long-term success.
And that's wonderful, because a lot of people they're not happy when they're doing a diet.
Yeah, it's discouraging.
It is discouraging.
It's discouraging, but if you empower yourself, this can be done.
Stay on track and go back to the original manual, the Bible.
Right.
Fantastic. Another question. George in New South Wales, Australia writes, my mother has atrial fibrillation. Her doctor says she needs to take Coumadin, another medicine. Is there any other treatment option available other than this problem? She is healthy. Good day, mate.
Well, that's what they say in Australia, right?
That's right.
Well, a couple things regarding George I want to tell him. And this is a good chance for me to talk about healing before I get to the specifics. You know, God heals in many ways, Tim. We see the healing in the Bible. The lame healed suddenly. People are raised from the dead. I've actually seen God heal this way on earth several times. The second way God heals is through changes in lifestyle. We talked about it in our last question. God empowers people to get back to the way we were originally designed.
Right.
And that might be loving better or laughing or eating a better diet. Getting that stress down. Remember, God didn't want all this stress that the evil one snuck in through the years.
Right.
And the third type of healing I see quite often too is that, even though we haven't done things perfect, we haven't lived well, we have people that are chronically ill, that have pain, arthritis, when you can say, you know what, you've lived a long life, I know you're suffering, but God's going to heal us permanently in heaven someday. That's a wonderful type of healing to be assured of too. But as far as George in South Wales, Australia writes, his mother has atrial fibrillation. So one of the things we can say is God's going to heal his mother someday. It's just when.
It's when.
And God has given us modern medicine to help in the healing process. Atrial fibrillation is where the top part of the heart moves too fast. When it moves too fast, the blood clot could get in there. And that blood clot could actually pump out of the heart, causing a stroke. In fact, 15% of all strokes are caused by atrial fibrillation. Well, nowadays, we have the ability to give Coumadin, and Coumadin helps lower the risk of having a blood clot, which can cause a stroke. So this is another way God has given us modern medicine to help in the healing process. So I hope that answers George's question.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've covered heart attacks, medications, and diet, and it all comes down to the manual, the Bible. Thank you, Dr. Marcum, and thank you for joining us for The Heart of Health. If you'd like to write in a question, you can do so on the internet at heartwiseministries.org. That's heartwiseministries.org. Or you can write us at Heartwise Ministries, P.O. Box 8, Ottawa, Tennessee 37363.